Hey, good morning, everyone. Welcome and welcome to another edition of Game Time with Kenny in the house. I just want to say thank you to all who are supporting me and who are um, watching this live at this moment. Um, it's a great day today, isn't it? And we got a lot to talk about today, and we're gonna try to condense everything within a 15 to 30-minute program today. So hopefully you will be encouraged by the program, and hopefully that you will um, allow yourself to just continue to watch the great games that are taking place. And what an awesome night! And so I want to start off today's program by going through what took place yesterday. And, you know, we talk about the Portland Trailblazers. I mean, what an embarrassment they put on the Oklahoma City Thunder yesterday. And the Thunder is reeling so bad. They lose 114 to 94 yesterday as Lillard and McCollum fueled the Blazers to a dominant 2-0 start. And you have to wonder about the health of Paul George. Paul George, he's struggling with a shoulder injury right now, and he says that he's feeling good, but the Oklahoma City Thunder are only going to go in the playoffs as far as Paul George can take them because Paul George has to play like he's capable of playing in order for the Oklahoma City Thunder to advance. And the way it is going right now, there's a possibility that Portland could go down to Oklahoma City and win two more, and they sweep the Oklahoma City Thunder. What what an amazing event takes place in Portland yesterday. So Westbrook says that he vows to play better after their embarrassing loss, and it was a dismal game for them. Now, when you look back at the first game, they only went 5 for 33 from downtown in their loss. And yesterday, let's look at what took place yesterday in the Portland area. So when we look at this, um, we see that they truly were ferocious again. You have to start it on defense, you have to start it in the offense, and you have to start it in every phase and facet of the game. I mean, there's just amazing to, that the Portland Trailblazers have displayed in the first two games of this series. So when we look at yesterday's game, now here, Paul George led the way for Oklahoma City, playing the most minutes out of the starting five. He played more than Russell Westbrook, who only played 37 minutes yesterday, and he was 5 for 20, 1 for 6 from downtown. He was perfect at the free throw line for 3 for 3. But when you look at Paul George, he was 3 for 4 from the free throw line. He was 2 for 7 from downtown. Now, when you look at the starting five players that they had out there, three of the five players, Grant, Adams, and Ferguson, all each had 30 minutes of action. But between them, Grant and Adams, um, Grant was 1 for 7 from the field goals, and Adams was 7 for 8. But when you look at from downtown, neither one of them made a shot from the 3 point land. Grant was actually 0 for 5, and Adams did not even attempt one. Ferguson, on the other hand, was 1 out of 5 from downtown. So between those three itself, they were 1 for 10. All right. You're just not going to get it done in the NBA if you cannot hit from downtown. And you can see that Oklahoma City is really, really struggling in that area. Paul George, he was 2 for 7, and Russell Westbrook was 1 for 6. So between those two, they were 3 for 13 in the downtown area. Now, on the other hand, when you look at the Portland Trailblazers, they were just amazing. I mean, you talk about Lillard and McCollum, who led the way. Look at these stats. I mean, Lillard played 37 minutes. He was 10 for 21 in the field goal department. He was 4 for 8 from downtown. Exactly half of the three-pointers he attempted, he made. And he was 5 for 7 from the free throw line. McCollum, on the other hand, he played 36 minutes. He was 12 for 22 in the field goal department. He was 3 for 7 from downtown, and he was perfect at the free throw strike, 6 for 6. So when you have that, I mean, you have your two best players on the team, Lillard and McCollum, shooting 11 for 13 from the 3-point line between the two. Um, I'm sorry, 4 for 8 from the 3-point land, and McCollum was 3 for 7. So between them, they were 7 for 15. I was speaking of the free throws on that. Uh, it was just truly, truly amazing. I mean, when you look at this game, you have to think of the defense they played with, the intensity that they played with. I mean, they were just from start to finish, you could just see that they were more hungry for this game. They wanted it more. They knew that this was a must win for them because they could not afford to get Oklahoma City to come in there and win game two and get the split and then go to Oklahoma City tied at one. Now, Portland has the mindset that they can go down and they can win two more because you can see right now Oklahoma City is reeling. Paul George, he still struggles. You know, the shoulder's bothering him. And Westbrook, on the other hand, he is just not playing himself either. So when you have all that, that is just incredible. So, what is to be expected in game three? Well, I'll tell you, I think Oklahoma City is definitely in a must win. They have to win that game. If they don't, then I think they are truly going to be swept. Damian Lillard, and he was just, I don't know how else to describe it. I mean, he was phenomenal. He was just ferocious on the defensive side. I mean, the entire Trailblazers team was just so, so awesome. You know, this is so great for the NBA to have games where a home team is so dominant as they were. And it was just so great to see a display of that. Um, Now, when you talk about other games that took place yesterday, the Denver Nuggets head coach used the LA Clippers Doc Rivers head coach rally to inspire his team, and they tied this series up with the San Antonio Spurs at home with a 114-105 victory. Murray's 21 points in the fourth quarter propels the Nuggets to the comeback win. I mean, Jamal Murray, think about this. He missed his first 8 shots before scoring a fourth quarter in which he had 21 of his 24 points. This is just truly remarkable that he comes back and he puts on a display as he did with 21 points. This is really amazing. So when you look at this breakdown, I mean, it's just so I don't know how else to describe it. I mean, it was just like a total meltdown by the San Antonio Spurs. And that reminds me of the Golden State Warriors. You know, for the first 6.5 to 7 quarters, they were so dominant against the LA Clippers. But then it was about the last quarter of game two, or about the last quarter and a half, is where it just started to turn the other side for them. But we'll get to the Warriors story in a moment. But when you look at this game, I mean, it's just, again, you know, Denver, they've been known to have a great defense this year. And it just showed. I mean, when you look at their 3-pointers yesterday, I mean, when you have 5 for 18 from downtown, I mean, that's just like the Oklahoma City Thunder, which was 5 for 33 in game one in their loss. But here, they were 5 for 18. You're just not going to get it done in the NBA if you do that. However, Denver, on the other hand, they were 10 for 24 as a team from downtown. And the two guys that led the way in that was Jokic and Murray, which both hit 2 for 3 from downtown. Harris was also 500 from downtown, which he hit 3 of 6. And then Beasley came in off the bench and he hit 2 out of his 4 shots from downtown, also at 50%. So when you get the contribution that you did off the bench, you have Morris that scored 11, you have Plumlee who scored 4, and you have Beasley who scored 8. When you get that type of production off your bench, 23 points for the Denver Nuggets, that is just truly, truly remarkable. When you look at the bench scoring for San Antonio, you had Montejunas with 2, you had Bertans with 3, Gay with 5, and then you had Mills with 5, and then you had Bellinelli with 8. So you had 23 points off the bench as well in that game. So both teams off the bench, each getting 23 points. But the story of this game, when you go back to it, Murray's 21 of his 24 points in the fourth quarter. It was just a remarkable quarter that he had, and one of the greatest ever in NBA history to take place. Well, speaking of, a great quarter, remember the Philadelphia 76ers in game 2 against the Brooklyn Nets? They had a 51-point third quarter. And now here we got Murray, one individual, having 21 of his 24 in the fourth quarter. That was just remarkable. So what do we look at for game 3 here? Well, this one's going to be a little bit different because there's a split. I think if Denver is going to win this game, and they're going to win this series, and they're going to get the home court back, they have to take both of them in San Antonio, which is not going to be an easy order for them to do. But they have to come in, they have to show that they're hungry for it, and they have to play like the Berlin Trailblazers did in the first 2 games at home. Real dominant, and just from the get-go till the finish of the game, they just have to play 48 minutes, 2 games in a row down in San Antonio, just with tenacious defense, just bothering all the shots that San Antonio wants to take. Don't let them get out in the fast break, because when you turn the ball over and you get them that fast break, they are going to eat you up. So don't let them do that if you're the Denver Nuggets. And also, when you talk about the other games that did take place yesterday, what can you say about the Toronto Raptors coming back and beating Orlando after an embarrassing game 1 at home with that shot that put Orlando up in the lead with that 3-pointer late in the game, and that just stunned the Toronto crowd as a result. They come back in vengeance and rout the Orlando Magic 111-82. Orlando needed to win this game so that they can go home and sweep the Toronto Raptors. But if Orlando is going to come and pull the upset in this series, they're going to have to play and to win both games at Orlando. If they get the split in Toronto, I think Toronto has enough to win and oust the Orlando Magic out of the playoffs. But Orlando has got to go in with the mindset saying, hey, we got the split there. We wanted to go up 2-0, but we can go home. We got to protect our own home court, and we got to just show the fans we're for real this year and that we're going to make noise in the playoffs. So they've got to come out and they've got to play. All right, when we look at some other important items, that took place yesterday. When we go to the NHL, who can say what happened uh, to the Tampa Bay Lightning? I mean, here is a team that had the best record in the NHL this year, had the most points than any other team. They had all of home ice available to them through the Stanley Cup Finals, and they get ousted by the Columbus Blue Jackets in 4 games, and they get routed yesterday 7-3. That is just amazing that they got routed that long and that much, and especially when they were on their home ice in the first 2 games, how they just didn't come out with the tenacity and the drive that they needed, and they allowed Columbus to come in there and get the first two. That was just amazing there. I mean, I just could not believe it. Um, Other games, the New York Islanders beat Pittsburgh 3-1. Winnipeg does get the win on the road in St. Louis 2-1 in overtime, and the Vegas Golden Knights beat the San Jose Sharks 5-0. Now, some of the top headlines: John Cooper, head coach for the Tampa Bay Lightning, was ousted. Lightning victims of own success. The NHL awards are to be held June 19th in Las Vegas. Ray Bork was sorry for crossing the picket line at a market. And Hobie Baker wins the Makar Scores in a NHL debut. So that's what's going on around both the NHL and the NBA. When you look at Major League Baseball, you see that Red Sox ace Sale is now 0 for 4. He says, I just flat out stink. There's no other word for it. I mean, you're paying an ace guy to go out there and win games for you. He doesn't even win one in over a month. So you have to wonder what is going on with him and why is he struggling? Is this just a mental breakdown right now for the Red Sox? And can the ace come back and put on the performance as he's used to doing? So the bathroom break, the Tampa Bay Rays Snell fractures a toe. Wow. You get a bathroom break and then you fracture a toe. That's not saying much there. So, we know that sports, including baseball, there's going to be injuries that's going to take place. But to have it happen during a bathroom break, I mean, you would think that it would be an on-the-field injury, but it was during a bathroom break. I mean, that's just ludicrous, I would think. But, injuries happen no matter what part of the game you're in. Other notes I wanted to talk about today, let's go back to the Golden State Warriors for a minute. A lot of people are saying they're vulnerable and that they may not win and they may get ousted and everything. Well, look at the game against the Houston Rockets last year. When they go into Houston and they go down double digits and they somehow find a way to win game 6, and then they ultimately win game 7 on the road, and for them to come back and win another NBA title last year in the NBA Finals, they've won 3 of the last 4 titles. One of them was the Cleveland Cavaliers. And this year, LeBron James is not in the postseason, as the Lakers are not in the playoffs this year. So to have a postseason without LeBron James, but you do have Kevin Durant, and you do have Draymond Green, and you have Steph Curry. Kevin Durant, He is being guarded by Patrick Bradley right now from the LA Clippers. He cannot be intimidated by that guy. He has to go out and he has to just play his game. Kevin Durant can shoot anywhere he wants and he can score from any place he wants. All he has to do is just keep focused on the game, keep focused on what he's got to do. And the LA Clippers, yeah, they wanted a little spicy things to take place, right? Well, they had their spicy moment, I believe, with a 31-point comeback in game two. But when the going gets tough, you know the Golden State Warriors are not going to be let down. Yeah, they had a little beating right now because they're reeling and they're kind of like in shock still. But when they go down to LA, they're going to put that behind them. They're going to come back with a mindset and say, you know, even though we don't have Cousins in the playoffs, and he's going to be out indefinitely now for the playoffs, but they've won an NBA title without him before. You know, the Warriors, even last year, they had some injuries. But what happened in the very end? They were the only one to win the NBA title, and no other team did. So don't count the Warriors out just because they lost one game when leading by 31 in the second half, and to have a mental breakdown and a physical breakdown. Don't think that that's going to last for long, because when the Warriors finally figure out that the Warriors are the Warriors, and when they play their ace game, when they don't turn the ball over, and when they just go aggressively on defense and strip the ball and everything, and then when you got Steph Curry, Kevin Durant, and when you got those guys starting to hit from downtown, and let me tell you, if each of those guys hit 10 or 15 three-pointers in one game, that's between 20 and 30 three-pointers in one game. You're giving up, 60 to 90 points right there. If you get those two guys itself turned on like that, and they can hit from out an able shoot and get at least 15 three-pointers, you're in trouble if you're the LA Clippers. Because I'm telling you, the LA Clippers, when they're the Clippers, they're going to be down to the Clippers. And when it goes to getting tough, when the Warriors are by themselves and they play the way they're supposed to, the Warriors are going to win this series. So the Warriors, I believe they can get both games in LA, and they can come back home in Oakland up 3-1. So let's just see how good the Warriors can be to come back to respond from a shocking loss to Oakland in game 2. Now, the Philadelphia 76ers, we talk about them. How can Brantley lead the way for them right now? Because with Embiid not there right now, and he's really not playing. So it's like he's not even playing in the game. So what can the 76ers do? And is Brett Brown's job in jeopardy, as there are sources that are saying that if they lose to the series against the Brooklyn Nets, that they are not going to have Brown as a head coach any longer? Do you blame it all on just him? Or do you blame it on the whole organization? Do you blame it on the team who had a mental breakdown, who couldn't make shots, who couldn't play the defense that they were supposed to? But if the Philadelphia 76ers win, it's like, okay, as long as Brantley plays, and when Embiid can play his game, when Embiid is there and he plays his game, it's going to be so awesome. But when he doesn't, the 76ers are going to be in trouble. So the 76ers are going to go only as far as Embiid is going to take them, because that's the guy that anchors the defense on the offensive side. And he has that mentality that, look, if I'm here, I can inspire the team and we can play up to another new level of intensity and action. Okay, so Now we want to talk about a little bit about the NFL draft this year. When is it going to take place? Well, the NFL draft will take place on the last Thursday of this month of April, which is April 25th. Coverage will begin on ESPN the first round at 8 Eastern, 5 Pacific, and 2 p.m. for those of you in Hawaii, um, the standard time zone. It will be 2 o'clock out there in Hawaii when it does take place. And this year's venue, it will be taking place um, in Nashville, Tennessee, is where it will take place. And the second and third round coverage will be on Friday night, but then the NFL draft will end on Saturday. So give us your feedback. Who do you think is going to be the most prosperous NFL pick in 2019? And which teams are going to benefit from it? Who's going to get the best draft picks? Who's going to make the most impact that'll be worth watching in the NFL this year? I love your comments and I love to have you give your feedback. Let me know. And then we can discuss about that. And it's just going to be a great NFL draft, I believe, this year. Now, the NBA draft, the NBA lottery is actually going to take place on May 14th of this year. And when that takes place, who's the best guy out there that can get picked? And who is the teams that's going to get that NBA lottery draft pick? You will find out on May 14th, as that is the day when that will all take place. Well, this edition of Game Time with Kenny has come to an end. I'd love to have your comments. I'd love to have your feedback. Please let me know whether the comments are positive or negative. Please let me know how I can improve the program and what you would like us to go more in depth into. And I would love to, reach you guys and just to let you know all the latest things in sports. And at least somewhere along the line, we're going to have a link set up to where we can have a call-in program as well, but not right now. But if you do have comments, I will reply them back. And, subscribe to the channel. Your subscription is great. And I appreciate every one of you that views the program. This is our second program. So I am still fairly new at this, but I am willing to improve and just make the program more interesting. So like I said, I love your comments and feedback. So tomorrow morning, the program is actually going to start a little bit earlier. It will not be at 6 a.m. Eastern tomorrow. Probably going to make the program right around maybe around 3 o'clock in the morning Eastern, midnight Pacific, and it will be 9 p.m. at night in Hawaii tomorrow. So it will not be on at 6 a.m. in the morning Eastern tomorrow. It will be probably right about 3 o'clock in the morning Eastern, midnight Pacific, and 9 p.m. at night in Hawaii. So thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you tomorrow then. And you have a great day.